Hello again. As you may or may not know, I am Eli the computer guy, and we are out here. We are taping this particular video in upstate New York in the Adirondacks. We are, I think, what are we beside here? We're up here beside Clear Pond, I guess it's called. We're up here by Upper Saranac Lake. So as you may or may not know, basically my wife and I are in a travel trailer and we are just wandering around the country, taking a look at all kinds of technology and nature and all that kind of stuff because we can. Really, I mean, is there any other reason? And so what I want to talk to you guys today is something that I have seen come up quite a bit from a lot of the viewers, and is one of those really weird issues that people seem to have. It's really kind of funny. And it's the idea of job satisfaction. And it's the even more bizarre idea that the more satisfied, the happier you are with your job, especially in the technology world, the better you will do. I found something really weird with a lot of viewers out there. I talk about, you know, trying to be happy, trying to make a life where I'm satisfied and happy, and I have seen a lot of pushback from people for some reason. Like, the whole idea that you should be happy in your job is an absolutely ridiculous concept. Oh, Eli, you want to be happy with what you're doing in life. That is so foolish. And I find that to be weird, that people push back so much on that. And I also find it to be self-destructive for the people that do. And you have to realize that in the technology world, it's very important that you are satisfied with what you are doing in your job. Because remember, your job, it's not a normal job in the technology world, right? You know, most people, when they have their normal jobs or their careers, they work 30 hours a week or 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week. They go in, they punch the clock, they do their job, they go home. There is the job, and then there is home, and they don't really intersect. They don't really meet. Maybe you get like emails in the middle of the night or something, but realistically, job, not job is two different worlds. Remember, in the IT world, in the technology world, that is not the case. Case in point, like if you ask me, it's kind of funny, you know, if you ask me how much I work, I will say I work very little. If you ask my wife how much I work, she will say I work all the time. Why is there two different answers there? The reason is because for me, I enjoy what I do so much that so much of the time I don't think of it as work. Right? So I'll be sitting there and I'll be watching YouTube videos on technology, or I'll be reading, you know, business journals on technology, or I'll be talking with people about technology, and I'll spend hours and hours and hours and hours doing it. But I don't associate that with work because I associate sitting in front of this camera as work. You know, the way I think of work is sitting in front of this camera and talking to you guys, taking this footage, throwing it through Final Cut Pro, editing it, uploading it. That is what, in my mind, I consider work. Whereas my wife, she looks at what I do and she says, well, you sit in front of the camera, you edit the footage, you upload the footage, then you go out and you talk with all these people, then you watch all these videos, then you read all this stuff. You're doing all these other things. And so it's important to understand is that the happier you are with your job, the more satisfied you are with whatever it is that you're doing, the more of it you will do, and then you will end up being more successful. This is a huge issue in the technology world, because a lot of people will say, they don't understand. They say, you know, look, I have 5 years experience and I'm making $60,000 a year. This other person has 5 years experience. They're making $150,000 a year, and they're just light years ahead of me. I don't understand why. And the reason is because you're looking at it wrong. You're looking at it the way that we've looked at experience for the past 100 years, and it's an incorrect way of looking at it. It's not that you have 5 years experience and they have 5 years experience. Here's the deal. You have 5 years experience going in, working 8 hours a day, doing the bare minimum of certification or whatever training that you need to do, and that's what you've done. You've done your 40 hours a week, you've done your 40 hours, let's say, of education every year, and so that puts you where that puts you. Well, you have the other person, right? They do their 8-hour shift. And then when they're done with their 8-hour shift, they then go to their boss and say, hey, is there any other work I can do around here? And so they get a couple of extra hours of actual work in. And then they go home, and then they're like, that was interesting. I was playing with this new distribution of Linux today. I'd like to learn about it a little more. So then they go home and they build a Linux server that night, and they spend another 4 hours doing that. And so what you find out is you have one person with 5 years experience, 40 hours a week, 40 hours of training per year, just mucking along. And then you have the other person, yeah, they do 40 hours of work, but then they try to do overtime, or they do additional projects, or they go out and help other people, so that adds another 10, so now they got 50 hours of work. And then they go home and they work on their own little projects and they play around. Well, that adds in. So literally, if you compare these two people, that other person is getting 1.5 weeks to 2 weeks experience for every 1 week of experience you get. So when you get to the 5-year mark, they literally have twice the experience you do, because during those years, they have been putting more into it, right? And that's where job satisfaction comes in. The more you're interested in what you're doing, the more you enjoy what you're doing, the more you like what you're doing, the more experience you will get, which will make you more valuable in the end run. And that's the important thing to understand with our field. This is a very, very important thing, because one issue that really comes up with a lot of people is they look at money incorrectly in the IT field. When you're looking with making money in the technology field, what you need to be thinking about is the money you're going to make over your career. Right. So again, in most professions, you worry about what your yearly salary is. I make $40,000 this year. Next year I'll make $45,000. The year after that I'll make $50,000. Blah 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 blah. Right. And that's not how it works in the technology world. It's not. One year you make $50,000. The next year you make $25,000. The next year you make $100,000. The next year you make $30,000. The year after that you make $200,000, right? Because the thing is the skills that you develop will be required differently over time. So if you're somebody like you want to learn Dart or Go, which are programming languages. Right now, they may not be very valuable. So you sit there and you become a really good expert on that because you really enjoy doing it. And this year and next year, you don't make any money. But maybe 3 years from now, Go becomes the programming language everybody needs to deploy. And now you become worth $250,000. And what's going to pull you through all of this stuff is not, like I say, everybody thinks about like motivation, and they think about motivation in the wrong way. It's because you enjoy what you're doing. And so one of the things that you need to be thinking about when you're going out there to find jobs and do all these tasks in the technology world is to think about, do you really enjoy what you do, what you're doing? Do you really have job satisfaction? Now, you're not going to be happy all the damn time, right? I am not sitting here saying you need to go into a job where you're happy 99% of the time and it's just going to be wonderful, right? Well, you're happy 50% of the time, right? You just have to be happy enough with what you're doing that you keep plugging along. Now, one of the important things to understand, especially in the technology world, is that jobs that seem very similar, you may have a very different view on, or may have differences in satisfaction for you. So I've been doing technology for a long time now, right? Since the 90s. I did electronics in the military. I worked in the corporate world. I did the consulting gig. I built up my own business, had numerous full-time employees, shut that down, then started the YouTube thing, and now I'm starting this new project with Silicon Trailer. So I've been in the technology world. I've done a lot of different things, and it's interesting to see how my satisfaction with these different areas really either helps or has hindered my career over time. So again, I started off in the military, in the Army, doing electronics repair. So I went through one of the longest electronics programs the Army had, went through that whole hell, learning all kinds of wacky stuff I can't really talk about. But what was interesting with that is, so, you think about technology. Eli, I want to be a technology professional, right? So that was a technology professional, especially in the 90s. I learned very, very high-tech equipment for the 90s. And then I got put into an electronics shop in the Army. And I absolutely and utterly hated it, because although I was working on technology, that's literally all I was doing. So if you're an electronics repair technician, lots and lots of really cool stuff comes in. But basically, you just sit at a bench and you just plug pull and plug in parts until the device is fixed, and then you move it on out. The thing is, especially when you're dealing with military equipment, is that military equipment is expected to work. Right? Unlike Windows, military equipment is expected to work. You're not supposed to have weird-ass little quirks with it. And when it does break, it should be relatively easy to repair. I mean, you need a certified repair person to repair it, but it should be repairable. You should not be sending out equipment that you're not really sure about. It's either fixed or it's not fixed, right? So basically, I went into that electronic environment and worked on all this high-tech stuff. And it was just dull as hell. It was just, what I'm saying, because you get equipment in, you swap out parts, you do the self-test routine, hey, you get all green lights, move equipment out. It really, I just found it to be horrible. So I got out of the Army, in the middle of the dot-com boom, right? I had such, you talk about wanting to go back and just smack yourself when you were younger. That was a time I should have smacked myself, because I get out in the middle of the dot-com boom with this training. But for me, I felt that I hated electronics. And since I hated electronics, I figured I hated computers, and so I wasn't going to do any of that horse crap, right? So I came out with all this training, just a beautiful resume, being able to go out there. I knew a lot of people that made a lot of money, and I was like, I understand you're making money, but I never want to do this crap again, right? So for me, this was a technology job, it was a real technology job, it was a high-skill technology job, and I had zero job satisfaction. Even though I could have made a lot of money, and I knew I could have made a lot of money, there was zero job satisfaction, so I wasn't pursuing it right at that time. So then I go through, a couple of quirky things come up, end up getting my MCSE, basically as a brownie point for other things. It's still during the dot-com boom. I get picked up with a company to be a regional field technician, to basically run around the country doing all kinds of repair work. Again, I'm sitting there and it's like, do I really want to do this computer tech stuff? I don't know, but hey, look, I get to run around the country and do all kinds of cool stuff as a 23-year-old. That works. So I did that, and I found that I had a lot of job satisfaction. And the reason why I had a lot of job satisfaction there was it wasn't the computers, and it wasn't the telephone systems, and it wasn't the network, and it wasn't all those things that you guys think about. What it was that as a 23-year-old, I got to call all the shots. I got a huge amount of respect from everybody I dealt with, and I only dealt with decision makers in the company. When I would go out to the offices, I didn't interact with the secretaries as peers. I didn't interact with all the office workers as peers. When I walked in the door to one of our facilities, I went from the door to the manager's office, sat down with them and said, what's going on? And I really enjoyed that, not for all those technology components, but because I could sit down with the decision maker and we could discuss what's going on, whose system needs to be upgraded first. Okay, we have 50 computers in this particular office. I have 10 brand new computers coming in the door. Who gets migrated to these brand new computers? And so I'm sitting there and I'm talking to the manager, and so it's like, okay, well, we have good employees that we want to keep motivated, so probably some of these computers should go to those good employees. On the other hand, we have these warehouse workers, and the warehouse workers' computer is really slow right now, so we also should probably upgrade that. And then you come out with a list of 15 people that should be upgraded. But you only got 10 computers to upgrade. And so you dicker back and forth. And it's like, okay, as a computer person, I say this person should get upgraded. And you say as the boss, And it was great because I could sit there, I could talk with people, I could discuss with all the decision makers, and I had a really fun time. I found that to be a good thing. Again, going on in my corporate experience, I found that was very satisfying. Again, not necessarily what you guys would think about the technology and stuff. The technology for me was relatively easy. Again, the one thing that I will say, whatever else about the military, is they teach you the thought process of technology, which is a very good thing. And so for me, like I say, the technology itself was pretty easy, but it was being able to sit down as a 23-year-old with 40 and 50-year-olds, and again, not be seen. I mean, of course, I was seen as a 23-year-old, but not be taken as a 23-year-old. It'd be taken as, okay, this is our IT guy. Our IT guy is going to come in and going to deploy these systems. How do we need to make this work, right? So I found that to be very satisfying. Then I decided to go off and travel through Europe and India. Ended up coming back. I figured I was going to go into management track and IT. I figured I was going to shoot up the corporate ladder. Unfortunately, the .com bust was in full swing right then. ended up becoming a consultant. And again, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it because, again, I could sit there with all the C-level executives. I could sit there with the decision makers. And for me, and that's the important thing to think about, you think about being a technology professional, and so you always think about that technology. You always think about MCSE or CCNA or this or that. And that was just... knowing that, having that skill set was what got me in the door and what made me valuable to these people. But what I actually enjoyed was all of that interaction. Then, I went from the consulting. I was having a good time being a consultant, thought this was great, decided to grow the business, and then job satisfaction went to hell, because then I had full-time employees that I had to deal with, right? And again, one of the things that I found for myself is that dealing with C-level executives, dealing with stress, dealing with type A personalities, for me is easy. I don't really think twice about it. I really don't. Like having a CEO lose their mind in front of me is just like, okay, you do realize how much you're paying me per hour while you lose your mind, right? It was easy, right? I could understand these people. I understand decision makers. I understand executives. I can talk their talk. I can walk their walk. It's just easy, right? Then all of a sudden I had employees. I thought that was going to be easy. Okay, bring all these people in. This is going to be great. We're going to make money. This is going to be wonderful. And then I found that dealing with people with the employee mindset was absolute and utter hell. I just couldn't grasp it. I just couldn't get what was going on. Literally, I had a really good employee. This guy was a really good person. He was a really good employee. He was really well trained. And I was having problems with him. And he was showing up late, and he was having these other issues. And so I called him in for a disciplinary meeting. And I remember him looking at me. And again, this guy wasn't a kid. This guy was in his mid-30s. And I was like, listen, these are the problems I'm having. I'm trying to figure out what to do with you, what to do. And he just looked at me. And as an adult, he said, yeah, I wouldn't want to be in your shoes. And I was just like, what the hell? You are an adult. You are a professional. You know where you're screwing up. You know you can fix how you're screwing up. You know the issues that I'm having, and yet you're just continuing to do it, right? And so for that, I found going from a consultant, I did really well. Then I started having to deal with employees, and that was horrible. All right? Then after that, when I say I closed that down, went to the YouTube thing. And one of the things to be thinking about is that, running these businesses don't always go how you think they're going to go. So when I started doing the YouTube as a business, actually making money off of this, one of the things that I didn't expect was how lonely it was going to be. My original idea for the YouTube business was, I'd go out, I'd get sponsors, I would be interacting with people again. Basically, I thought content creation was going to be a lot like consulting, just using a video camera, right? I figured I'd go out and get sponsors, I create relationships with sponsors, we come up with advertising campaigns. I figured there'd be a lot of back and forth. And the weird thing that I found with the whole YouTube business is that it's very lonely. Because what you find out about sponsors is they really don't care about you. They don't, right? It's true. I have all these sponsors, and they sent me all kinds of money. And normally, I would only hear from them about once every 3 months. And it was a very, very isolating thing. And so job satisfaction, although I was making money with YouTube, job satisfaction was going down. And that's why I'm now out here playing around with Silicon Trailer. And what I'm finding is that, I really enjoy talking with people. I really enjoy communicating with people. So we've been to numerous cities now. I've done a lot of these little sit-downs with people. And that has been going really, really well. And it is fun. And it is enjoyable. And again, having done a lot of technology business, I'm not really sure how I'm going to make money off of it, but I know I will make money off of it going forward because it just kind of makes sense. And so this is something to be thinking about with your own technology career is, are you happy? Do you have job satisfaction? Again, as I've talked about, I've done technology in a lot of different ways now. And what you need to realize is that some things will satisfy you and some things won't. I had one employee, it was really interesting. I'm a risk taker. I go out there. I love dealing with people. I love stress. I love all that kind of thing. The action, the excitement, the rah, right? And I had one employee, it was really funny, who all they wanted was a 9-to-5 job. And I was like, what? I remember talking to him because, again, really smart guy. And he said, yeah, I just want a 9 to 5 job. If he doesn't have a schedule in the day, he just kind of loses it. He doesn't know how to schedule his own time. So whatever job he had, although he was really smart and could think really well and all that, he liked a very regimented job. He wanted to know that he had to be in at 9, and then he had to leave at 5, and he wanted to know exactly what tasks that he was supposed to do during the day. And if you gave him that, he was a very happy boy. He was a very, very, very happy boy. If you just walked up to him and said, hey, yeah, we don't really have anything for you to do today, figure something out, he would kind of lose it a little bit. Right? That was his personality type. And so that's one of those things that you need to be thinking about with your career, is what do you actually enjoy about the technology profession? Do you want to be sitting in a little room basically just fixing computers or fixing devices all the time and not talking to anybody else? Do you want to be out talking to everybody? Do you want a little mix of this, a little mix of that? Do you like stress? Do you not like stress? Who do you like to interact with? These are the things that you need to be thinking about with your career, because that's what will help you move forward. Again, you know, the best times for my career, honestly, were back when I worked in the corporate world and back when I was originally a consultant. And the reason is because I loved what I was doing. Again, you know, the technology component isn't necessarily what I always loved the most, but it was a type I loved sitting down, like I say, with these decision makers and learning why decisions get made the way they do. And the way I got to sit down with the decision makers was by bringing the technology to the table. So I would learn Server 2008, not because I really gave a damn about Server 2008, but because I knew, hey, if I know 2008, I can get this company to migrate, which means I get to get in the door, I get to be talking with people, we get to figure out all of this stuff, and that's really fun. And so that's what moved me forward. Again, you know, when we talk about the amount of training I have a ridiculous amount of training, VIA systems, telephone systems. So I've got a VIA Definity, via Audix, via advanced call routing. If any of you guys know what any of that crap is, been to classes on Cisco and Linux and 2 Microsoft boot camps, NT 4.0 and 2000 and all this. And the reason I did all that was because I was motivated to do it, right? I wanted to do it. I knew the more information I had, the more valuable I was with technology, the more doors it would open up for me. And that's what I was interested in. So this is something that you guys need to be thinking about. Is the job satisfaction? Are you happy? Are you content? Is what you're doing getting you what you want? And if it's not, you need to think about changing that. Again, now sometimes, you know, a lot of you guys are gonna be like, well, Eli, how am I supposed to change it, right? Well, that's where you need to look at your personal situation and see what you can do to change it. Now, one of the easiest ways to change your little situation for job satisfaction is to look at the company that you're working at now. So if you're already in the IT profession, you're not a complete noob, you're already in the IT profession, is just sit down and do this very simple thing. Again, a lot of the stuff I try to tell you guys, really all I'm doing here is kind of creating logic problems and having you figure out the answer. I don't know the answer. You know the answer. You just have to think about it properly, and then you can figure out what the answer is. So if you are a technology professional right now, you have a technology job, what I want you to do is when you go to your job tomorrow, I want you to sit down and I want you to think about what you actually enjoy about your job. Is it working on the computers? Is it interacting with people? What is it? Just sit down and take a minute and think, what about this job do I actually enjoy? What about this job makes me motivated? What about this job makes me excited? What about this job makes me happy? Right? And hopefully there is something there that makes you happy. And here's the deal. If there is nothing there that makes you happy, might I suggest you go be a florist? Right? And that's important to think about. Again, if you sit down and you have this technology job and you're like, Eli, I don't like any of this, well, then that probably tells you something, doesn't it? So let's say you sit down though, and there's something about it you like. Maybe you like interacting with people. Maybe you like doing the technology, getting your hands dirty or whatever. Now, with most of you guys, you're going to be part of a team. And here's a cool part about teams. When you have a team, when you have a group of people, different people have different strengths and different people have different weaknesses. So let's say you really like dealing with people, like I do. There's probably somebody in the group that doesn't like dealing with people. So one of the things you can do to try to increase your job satisfaction is simply taking on the work, taking on the jobs that you enjoy doing that other people don't enjoy doing, right? So if you go into a group, especially if it's a technology group, right? Most people don't like to deal with end users at all. Most people don't like to deal with other people. So if you go in there and you enjoy interacting with people, then simply take that work. You know, when a work order is done and somebody's saying there, well, I finished this work order. I guess I'm going to have to talk to this jackass to tell him what I did. You can go, hey, you know, why don't I take that for you? You already did the work. Hey, if you start this work order that I have going, I'll go and talk to this person. Really? Really? You'll go talk to this jackass for? Oh, God. If you talk to that I can't deal with that jackass anymore. If you want to talk to him, that's all you're, right? So you can start taking the work that other people don't want to do, but that you are happy with, that you're satisfied with. Now, the important thing here is if you do start taking the work that other people don't want to do, but you do want to do, you're going to be happy about this. This is going to improve your mood. You're just going to exude a different energy than most people, like all pissed off all the time. And your bosses and the executives see that, right? Bosses and executives want to promote people that are happy. Okay? So if you're on a help desk or if you're on a desktop support and the boss is sitting there and they're like, okay, well, we want to promote from within and we have a junior level sysadmin job. Which one of these guys do I want to promote? Right? If you have like 5 pissed off people and 1 pretty happy person, who do you think they're going to promote? Well, let's see. These 5 people, they always seem kind of angry. That person over there, seems like he's having a lot of fun. Why don't we promote that guy, right? And this is something, and it really is true in life, where again, one of the reasons that I've been successful in a lot of things, and I've actually been told this by the people that have hired me, is because I seem relatively happy. It's like when I walk in the door, I generally have a smile, or what I consider a smile on my face. I'm generally excited to get in there, see what's going on, and people feel good about that. They want to hire, they want to promote, they want to pay people that seem energized. They want to pay people that seem like they actually want to be there, right? It's a very important thing. So basically, that's the first thing to do. So if you're looking for job satisfaction, you're already in the tech world, one of the things to think about is just sit there and look at the work that you like doing, and then just try to take that work from other people, because a lot of times they will hand it to you. And then again, when you talk about bosses and executives, what bosses and executives are looking for promotions and advancement and all that kind of stuff is people that take initiative, people that go beyond. So if you're sitting there literally asking your other teammates for work to do, that shows, again, that you're really interested in this, that you're really excited about this, and you will go above and beyond, which will help your career all the way around. The next thing you need to be thinking about is if you go in there and you don't like your job, maybe you're the sole person there, is that you need to be thinking about what the next job that you're going to take is going to be. So again, you know, in the tech world, sometimes you have jobs you love, sometimes you have jobs you hate, especially if you're a new person. Sometimes you got to go through help desk or desktop support to get to the job you want. So one of the things that you need to be looking at is you need to be thinking about what you enjoy, and then you need to start making your career plan for how to go from where you are to where you think that you want to be. Because a lot of the problem that people have in this profession is they simply go to wherever they're slotted. You start at help desk, and then you go to desktop support, and then you go to junior admin. Not because you particularly wanted to, and not because this was your idea, but because you got hired for this company, and this was the next thing that was available, and this was the next thing that was available, and this was the next thing that was available, and so you just go through the steps you're given, and then you wonder why you hate your life. So one of the things you need to be thinking about is, even if you're help desk, even if you're desktop support, and it's a sucky job, again, what about what you're doing right now do you enjoy? And then start looking for the jobs that match them. You know, don't think about just taking the next job that's offered to you. Where do you want to go? This is a big issue. You know, I just did this video where I talked about that you should think about starting your career at the Apple Store or even Best Buy or something like that, basically going into retail. I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people on that. But one of the things that you need to think about in the real technology world is that we basically do the same things throughout our career. It's simply that the projects we work on get exponentially more expensive. So if you're sitting and you're fixing your grandma's computer, for the most part, that is the exact same mental process that goes into building out a data center. Right? Because you have to sit there and you have to talk to the client or you have to talk with the boss. You know, in the future, it'll be a CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. Right now, it's the grandma. Right? But it's still, you've got to talk with somebody. You've got to communicate with somebody. You've got to figure out what the project is. So right now, you're fixing your grandmother's computer. What is the scope of that project? The scope of the project of fixing your grandmother's computer is your grandmother's computer has a virus, right? So what does that mean when you're talking with your grandmother? How much is it going to cost? How long will it take? What are the possible issues that may come up, right? Those are the exact same questions and things you're going to have to think about when you're building out a data center. Okay, CEO, you want a data center, and you want this data center to have 5 petabytes of data storage. Okay, how much is that going to cost? How long is it going to take? What problems, what foreseeable problems could be there? The same task, the same mindset that you use for fixing your grandmother's computer is directly relevant to when you're building out a data center. Then you actually go through the work. So you're sitting there with your grandmother's computer and you go through and you're doing the virus work, and while you're trying to clean out the virus, you figure out this piece of crap computer only has 512 megs of RAM, and really she needs at least 2 gigs of RAM in it, and so it's going to cost $50 to upgrade the computer to have 2 gigs of RAM, and then you're going to have to go to your grandma and then you're going to have to say, well, you know, I'm fixing the computer, but you really need to give me $50 extra so I can upgrade the RAM. And then your grandma's going to be like, But I don't know. But you told me you could do this for $25, and you told me it would only take 2 days, and now you want right? And you're going to go through this whole negotiation process with your grandma over 2 gigs of RAM and $50, and it's going to seem absolutely ridiculous. And then someday, 10 years from now, you're going to be building out a data center, and you're going to have what's going to seem like almost the exact same stupid argument with the CEO over, having to spend another $10,000 on an air conditioning unit because the servers are hotter than you originally thought they were going to be. Right? But it's that same process. So the thing to be thinking about is when you're sitting at the help desk position, when you're sitting at the desktop support position, when you're whatever position you're at, again, look at what components, what tasks of your job you enjoy and which ones you dislike, and then think about where you want your career to go. You're sitting there, you're on the help desk. Maybe you really like interacting with people. Maybe you really like talking with people. The thing is, again, you hate dealing with the technical mumbo jumbo. So maybe you should go and you should become a salesperson. Maybe you should go and you should become a recruiter. Maybe you should go and maybe just become a manager, right? Or you're sitting there on the help desk and you're bored out of your mind with all of this because all you want to do is get elbow deep in hardware or code or whatever. Then focus on the hardware, focus on the code. Because the more satisfied you are, the more job satisfaction you have, the easier everything is going to be. The more work, the more experience you're just going to naturally get, and the farther you're going to go. Again, this is something, I saw this with countless employees over the years, countless people I've interacted with, where it is. I have seen the people. Like, people laugh at me when I say this, but I've had friends of mine where they would do a 12-hour shift. They would get done with the 12-hour shift, and while they were on the shift, while they were on the shift, they started playing with some technology, and they said, okay, as soon as I get home, I'm going to go and I'm going to install this operating system on my own home computers and play with it some more. So they've already done 12 hours. They go home, they work another 4 hours. They get all that experience. Do you not think that's going to be valuable over the years? Again, because remember, our profession is all about getting the job done. It's not how old you are. It's not necessarily even the certifications or degrees. Can you do it? Do you have experience, right? So the more you just do things, the easier it will be. So really, 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 really think about job satisfaction. Really think about, are you happy with what you're doing? Because the happier you are, the more satisfaction. It's just the smoother everything goes. You're going to do more work. You're going to get more experience. Your higher ups are going to see that you're energized and excited. They're going to be more likely to promote you, give you bonuses, all that kind of stuff. It just makes life so much better. Again, it's sad. I see a lot of pushback from viewers where they seem to think, being happy with your job. Oh, Eli, what a fancy concept there. It's like, no, if you're not satisfied with your job, move on. And again, even at the end of the day, right? We're technology professionals here. We are professionals. This is your career. Sometimes you need to quit. Right? If you're at a job and you're like, Eli, there is nothing about this job I like. There's nothing that satisfies me. Then you need to move on. Because again, and this is one of the problems that I see with you guys, especially you young guys, right? You're in your 20s, is that you're burning time. Whenever you talk about the startup world, whenever you talk about creating a new business, one of the costs that gets overlooked quite a bit is something called opportunity cost. So what opportunity cost means is if I am doing something, that then means I am not doing something else. So opportunity cost. So let's say I decided to launch my own startup company. And let's say I decided to work 2 years on it, right? The opportunity cost states I could go to the enterprise world and let's say make $100,000 a year. Right? So if I went into the corporate world and made $100,000 a year in 2 years, I would earn $200,000. Right? So the opportunity cost for launching a startup company is if I spend 2 years working full-time for that startup company, I'm losing $200,000 because I'm not earning it by working somewhere else. Opportunity cost is very important in the technology world because remember, if you're sitting on that crappy little help desk job or you're sitting in that crappy little job that you really, 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 really hate, you're not gaining experience in something that you would enjoy. Right? So you're getting a year or 2 years or 5 years experience in something that you really hate, that you don't want to do, that even if somebody paid you more money, you'd probably say no to, versus going out and doing something that you actually enjoy. See, and that's where a lot of people don't get it. They're like, no, Eli, no, you don't understand. I'm not gonna go work in the technology field until I can get this perfect job or what. And it's like, yeah, but you're not. When you're sitting there doing that crap, you're not gaining the skills that will make you more money down the road. You kind of get what I'm saying there. It's something to think about, and that's where a lot of people, they really do need to quit. And that's one thing too, when you're thinking about money, you're thinking about job satisfaction, especially when you're new in the IT field, is something to think about is to do something it's called live below your means. So a lot of people live above their means, and what that means is that they essentially spend more money than they earn. So you make $40,000 a year and you spend $50,000 a year because you got that credit card. The problem is if you spend all the money that you're bringing in, or you spend more than the amount of money that you're bringing in, then you can't take a worse job. You can't take a job that will pay you less but give you more experience. So let me give you an example here. So I was just talking to one of the Silicon Trailer people. So I was talking to this guy in Silicon Trailer, and he works in DC, and he works at this help desk position, and holy hell, mind-blowing, 65 grand a year on a help desk position. Level 2 help desk, but 65 grand a year on a help desk position. But it's a go nowhere position. He's not gonna go anywhere with this position, right? It's help desk. It's a dead end position. And so the issue is if he's working that help desk position and he's wound up in a dead end position, then the question is how does he get to a better position? Well, how he gets to a better position is by getting the experience that will get him to a better position. But he's already making 65 grand. So if he's spending all of his 65 grand, the problem is in order for him to move to another position, he needs to make at least that amount of money. Well, the thing is, if you look at the DC area, you look at the Baltimore area, you look at that area, there are a lot of nonprofit organizations out there. There is a lot of organizations out there that have real networks, that have real systems that need support, but they don't have the money. They don't have $100,000 to spend on somebody that's good enough to do it. So the thing is if this guy, in order to get ahead, what he may need to do is he may need to go to, let's say, a nonprofit organization, take a system administrator job at $40,000 a year, which is a massive pay cut for him. But, right, if he spends the next 2 years in help desk, it's not going to do a damn thing. Yeah, he makes the money, but it's not going to do a damn thing for his resume. He isn't going to be any better off 2 years from now than he is now. On the other hand, if he takes a $25,000 pay cut, goes be a system administrator from one of these nonprofit organizations that let's say has 200 or 300 systems, has a real network, then he gets all that sysadmin experience. And so now he worked at the help desk, and then he spends 2 years going over being a sysadmin, and then he can take that, so it goes from 65, quote unquote, down to 40. But then once he gets that experience, that then is worth 100, and then he goes off and he works for a major company. And so that's one of the things to be thinking about too, is where, that's, with your profession, with your job, having a career, it's about more than, again, like I say, certification. So it's about more than simply having a degree. It's thinking about all of these money issues. So yes, I'm making a lot of money now, but if I take a job that's at half my pay, that's going to give me 5 times the experience. Yes, for the next 2 years, I'm not going to make as much money. But then on the 3rd year, I may be able to double, triple, quadruple my salary. Right? And so those are some of those things that you need to be thinking about. Again, like I say, that's with the job satisfaction and all that. You may be making good money. You're like Eli, making $50,000 with benefits, right? But you don't like that job. And so maybe that's a thing. Maybe in order to get the job satisfaction, you go and you take an internship. That pays you $10 an hour, but it gets you in that door to something that you actually enjoy. You make $10 an hour now. 4 years down the road, you're making $50 an hour. And again, that's the important thing to understand with our field. That is really, really, really and truly how it works. You go from no money to a lot of money to a little bit of money to a lot more money to not bad salary. You know what I'm saying? It goes up and down, up and down, up and down. As long as you are continuously making yourself better, as long as you are continuously learning, as long as you are continuously fundamentally making yourself more valuable, over the long run you will do well. Again, you take that crappy job that you really hate, that you don't like, and you just sit there and you keep plugging along at it forever and just expect some fairy godmother to come out of the woodwork and say, alakazam, you're a system administrator now. That's not how it works in life. So there you go. Those are my thoughts today on job satisfaction. And like I say, it's really important in our field. It really is true. It's not even a joke. If you ask me how much I work, I say I don't work very much at all. If you ask my wife how much I work, she will say I work a whole bunch. Again, it's what do you perceive as work? When I'm sitting there and I'm watching videos about Cisco equipment or software-defined networking or any of this other kind of wacky stuff, I don't think of it as work. I mean, I just sit there with my cup of coffee in the morning, watching all this stuff. And I'm just, hey, this is a way to relax myself before I do work. But curiously enough, the way I relax myself before I do work is actually some very valuable stuff. You kind of get what I'm saying there? There we go. So with that, I shall leave you. Job satisfaction is majorly important. If you're not satisfied, again, you guys are all adults. Put in your big boy pants, put in your big girl pants, and figure it out. The technology world, it's like, I can't even explain it. You just see those people that are just in the groove. You just see those people that are very happy and content with what you're doing, and you just see how success follows them. And so just find that groove, find what it is you really enjoy about this field, and then really go for it. And as I say, right, just understand, it's not all enjoyable. It's not all enjoyable. I hated doing Army electronics was so painful for me. I swear to you, when I came out of the Army, I never thought I would touch technology again. It really was nowhere on the radar. Not even a little bit. It wasn't even a little bit on the radar. It was nowhere on my radar when I left the Army. And it was simply because what I was doing in that particular environment, I found really horrible and tedious and nasty. Using a lot of the things that I learned there, I took that, went into a different environment, and had an absolutely wonderful time. It's all about finding that place where everything just goes really smoothly and really well for you. And if you can find that, life gets easy, money comes, success comes. It's all just great. So anyways, with that, I will be off. So job satisfaction. Job satisfaction is probably one of the most important things that you can find in the IT world.